Up top here I have the electromagnetic spectrum. We're staying on this side near the radio waves. And mainly police officers use these 4 different types of bands. They use the X band, K band, KA, and laser. And in my personal experience, I found in California in the northern area, they use KA band. And they use it's like 34.269 gigahertz. That's about what they use, but it kind of fluctuates depending on what their calibration is and what their serial number and all that stuff is. And I've only seen laser once or twice on my radar detector, so that is basically danger zone. People say once that goes off on your radar detector, you're basically done, and it's really true because it's a super fine frequency. It's really small, so it's going to hit, come back, and you're basically done for. So what's going on here is it's called the Doppler effect. So you have a radar gun, and then what it's doing is the police officer triggers it. It shoots out a frequency. This distance right here is the wavelength, and it's going to hit the car, bounce back, and it's going to read it. And then it also knows the time of when that happened. And depending on the frequency and the amount of time, it can read out your speed. And it's going to put out 84 miles per hour. And then it'll pull you over and you're done for. If the cop is checking other cars, seeing if they're speeding, it's called rolling radar. They just leave the gun on and it's just sending out a frequency. You can check, your radar detector can check it and pick it up and alert you a couple miles back, and then you can slow down, and instead of 84 and getting a ticket, you can be going 65. But like I said, laser can be a danger zone, even KA, because what's going to happen too is a police officer can be smart. He can try to outbeat you with the radar detector. And what he can do is he can do an old trick. He can just sit there and wait. He sees you speeding, going really fast, pull up the gun trigger, and you're basically done. You can't slow down at 20 miles an hour like that. But if he's just lazy and he has rolling radar on, which I think 90% of the cops do, you're fine. But that 10% of the time, you might get screwed. Another thing, the radar manufacturers are trying to beat you as well. They have this thing, it's called pulsing. And what it's doing is it sends out the frequency in a short amount of time, and then it stops, and then it sends it out again, and then it stops. And what it's doing is it's breaking up your different times of that frequency, and your radar detector has a lot of clearing out it does. There's so much noise in the air that it has to try to pick out the right frequencies that it thinks it's a radar gun. And by doing this, it's just going to think it's some miscellaneous cell phone signal or something like that, or a side mirror, or whatever it is. It's going to think that, and it's not going to alert you because it's such a short time frame. It's called pulsing. This is also one of the things that cops are trying to do, but radar detector manufacturers and the radar gun manufacturers are always trying to outbeat each other and try to beat this guy and the police officer. So one thing to be aware of. Another neat thing too is my buddy was talking about they rely on the license plates as well, because your license plate, it reflects light, and reflecting something, you're going to get a lot better reading, because cops, they need a really good reading for them to actually pull you over, because sometimes it might send out, come back, and it might be 110 miles an hour, and hopefully you're not going 110 miles an hour. But what's going to happen is if you have something that's reflecting, it's going to be able to bounce back a lot better, and it's going to get a lot better reading and a lot quicker as well. So what you can do, they have this cool stuff, and you can basically paint it on, and it turns that reflection down. So your license plate, you still can see it, but it's not going to reflect anymore. And I heard it's pretty significant, but obviously bigger cars too are going to be more prone to getting pulled over because that frequency is going to hit more surface area and then it's going to bounce back. If you have a smaller car, there's not as much area for it to hit, so you have to be a lot closer. That's why motorcyclists are able to speed so much, because they're so tiny. It's so hard to actually get that frequency to come back and hit. So doing that helps. Being aware, getting actually a good radar detector helps. But understanding these is very important. So I suggest you do your research on X-band, K-band, Ka, and laser in your area. What kind of frequencies do they use? That should help you out a lot. And I wish you the best of luck. Don't be too crazy out there.